All right.
Sorry, Mike.
He's still interfering with us? Yeah.
I can just turn down my,
Turn your volume down. Yeah, turn the volume down. Okay. It's 1 o'clock.
Not yet, that's it.
This conference will now be recorded.
There you go.
So it's 1 o'clock. I want to welcome everybody to the Orangetown Traffic Advisory Board meeting held. This will be Wednesday, June 3rd. I want to thank everybody for their patience yesterday. We had some technical difficulties, and thanks to Allison, we were able to reschedule the meeting for today, and I thank everybody who was able to adjust their schedules to be here. So thank you again, and I welcome everybody. What I'd like to do is have a roll call just to see who's on, so we can make sure that everybody's here. If you could do that, Allison, please.
Sure. Allison Carden here. Dennis Michaels. Dennis, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I know. I'm here.
Okay. Margaret Warren.
Here.
Mike Yanazone, the chairman.
I'm here.
Police officer Mike Yanazone.
Here.
Paul Razzo.
Yeah.
Bob Celine. Not here. Bob Simon. Not here. Bob Person. Not here. Sergeant Kerry Schiller. Not here. Tom Adatel.
Here.
Here. And Anthony Lamondre.
Here.
And Kathleen McGowan. Not here. Okay. First, Mike.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, welcome everybody. I just want to do, if everybody had a chance to review the minutes, thank Allison for getting them out to us. If everybody could review the minutes, we'll go through each item. Some of them we're going to pass over due to the fact we weren't able to do anything with them due to this pandemic that's been happening. And it's not that we forgot them, but we'll continue to work on getting meetings. But if you can look at the minutes and just give me a motion to accept them the way they were written, and a second, please.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as is.
Second.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so carry. Let's go to the agenda items. We had to suspend any public comment due to the New York State emergency, and that continues today. Item number 1, that's with the meeting with New York State DOT officials. We had that scheduled to talk about numerous things, including signage, truck routes, and trucking restrictions, etc. The Sergeant Schiller was able to shed some light on some of that information in regard to enforcement and what they are allowed to do and what they are not allowed to do. And what we wanted to do was get a meeting with them to try to set up and work in conjunction with state, county, and town to identify truck routes throughout the town. However, we can't really do anything with that yet. Based on the fact is we don't have a criteria. So once these levels that we're allowed to return to almost a normalcy, maybe we'll try to schedule that meeting. And I know the state was willing to come in on the meeting, and they did want to sit down with us and go over a few things. They did send a letter trying to explain a few things, but I think a person-to-person meeting with the state and the county, actually letting them know what our problems are, maybe together we can come up with a good solution. So we'll table that and we'll keep that on the agenda. And as time permits, we'll try to schedule that meeting. There's no any comments on number 1. We'll go to number 2. Anthony, I know, were you able to talk to Stefan to see if anything was done with the traffic light on Blaisdell? Where'd he go?
He's muted.
He's muted. Let me see if I can.
Very good. No, that was me. Sorry. Yeah, right now we talked to Verde. He's got the we have the contract written. Everything that we need is accessible to us now. So what he's doing now, Verde, is going to give us a condition report as to which will give us recommendations on different options that we can have to remedy it. And, one of them is to install a grid smart, which is 20,000. And then there's other things that are obviously cheaper. So next meeting, we should have a list of things that we can go over as to what we think is the best remedy and the cost.
Okay, so I guess then if the highway department, so you're saying for that particular light, that's what you're talking about, Ants?
Yes.
So Allison, I think that maybe we could just, if we could contact Mr. Fultonberg, or I could contact him and let him know what the highway department is doing, and we could consider this matter closed because there's nothing else for us really to do. The highway department, we made them aware of it. They're looking at it and they'll make a determination of what they're going to do. So I don't see why we have to keep it on there.
Okay, sure.
We'll just advise him. I have his number here, so maybe what I'll do is I can call him from here today. I'll do that today. So we can
Okay.
just, all right, take that off there. All right, consider that closed. All right, anybody else have any comment on that particular item? Okay. Number 3, we talked about revisiting that in the fall. We talked about that last meeting with Mrs. Warren. So we'll look at that to see if there's adequate lighting for the crosswalk and in front of the library. But right now, we can leave it on there, Allison, and we'll just we'll revisit it in the fall. So I would leave it on there just as a reminder. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Status update on Livingston Street and Tapman, which is the cut through. This is item number 4 on the agenda. I spoke to both Anthony and Jim Dean yesterday. We're going to try to set up a pre-meeting with a couple of the agencies of the TTAC. We did do new counts. They were done on March 3rd. Okay, so they were done on March 3rd. And they did give us some good information because we did Oak Tree Road in a couple of directions, and we also did Livingston Street. So not to hash it all out right now, but the counts did show that there was a significant number of cars driving southbound on Livingston Street at certain times of the day. So with that being said, we're going to meet hopefully within the next week or so with some of the members of the TTAC, and then meet with them, the whole committee once again, and try to come up with a solution or a suggestion of how to calm that traffic a little bit and anything else that they want to talk about. In the meantime, once that's determined, then we'll try to schedule a public meeting so we can let the residents know what we suggest and make a recommendation for it. We'll get feedback from the residents as to how they feel about what we did. Hey, everybody still hearing me? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
We can.
Good. So my screen just came out as video pause. Okay. So we'll leave that on there, Allison, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay. We'll go to number 5. Okay, so we did get an email back from the county. I sent it over to Allison. They, as far as both this no right turn sign, striping, and the signage for Main Street, it's on the same email. And what they're telling me is they're not going to do any striping on the shoulder. They feel that the line is adequate. The white line, edge line is adequate. What they did say is if the town wanted to, they could petition the county and install a no turn on red sign. And right now, we would have to do the study and find out, is that warranted? And then we would have to petition them, and then they would do the installation of the no turn on red sign, because the highway town doesn't have jurisdiction, nor do we install and make rules on what intersection should be no turn on red and which ones are allowed. So I would probably, my recommendation would be to call the resident, just let her know that, we did petition the county to ask them if there's anything they could do. They basically feel like the intersection is good the way it is. And I would just see what happens. I don't know if you want to go through just put the no turn on red, maybe for one person, for now, unless, you know, there's any accident history or anything like that there, which I don't
Is
see.
there an accident history?
I don't believe so. Not that I know of, not making right turns. I mean, there has been accidents there, but I
Oh,
don't
right.
believe they were making, I don't believe they were making right turns. But that would be a question for the police department. But right now, I don't see what else we can really do unless, it's definitely a problem. There is a, interpretation in the, vehicle and traffic law that allows, officers to write summonses for people that leave the roadway and turn on the shoulder. Again, that's not my expertise, but, I think we should leave the matter alone. Let the lady know what, the county said, and if she wants to take it any further, maybe she could ask them if there's anything else they can do, because right now, I don't see anything, any action that we should take or make any recommendations, unless anybody else does.
The no turn on red sign won't really alleviate the complaint of, that would mean people might see the shoulder, the turn, make a right turn, and then when it turns, someone in the right lane could still proceed to make the right turn. I don't think the no turn on red sign would necessarily address the nature of the original complaint regarding the shoulder usage to make those turns.
I agree, because it's only in that one section, and you know, if they stay in their lane and there's not a car that's going straight, they can still make the turn on red safely. If I'm saying that right.
I take that turn at least once a day. And I never see anything that I think is dangerous. And I've never seen it. Doesn't mean anything. I've never seen an accident because of that.
Well, I think we did our due diligence in trying to find out if there was anything they can do. We did bring it to the attention of the governing authority, and they feel right now that we should leave it the way it is. So
She
I'd
was
like to,
complaining because she was having a hard time too, supposedly, making that turn. It's
Right.
a sharp turn if you don't go on the shoulder a little bit, but it's nothing. It's
I'm pretty
I
sure
think-
she didn't even have trouble on the turn. She got a ticket. That's what she was really upset about. She got caught doing it, I believe.
So really putting the stripes there, and I can tell you from experience, there's striping like that on 303 when you're heading southbound at Orangeburg Road. And they
Right.
did that because they didn't want the cars to go in there, and when there's no police around, they still go in there. So I think we
Right.
should just advise the lady of such that we did our due diligence and notify the county and ask them if there was anything they could do, and they would like to leave it alone for now unless there's a
sounds good.
bigger history. Okay, so we won't beat up that too much. All right. And then the second part of that is, it'll probably come up later, but Paul, we did ask them to look at putting a sign for the stop line, and they said they would. Now, we just got that about 2 weeks ago, back from them. So give them a little time. If it's not there in a couple weeks, give me a call or something, and we'll give them a call and see what's going on. But it's just, I know what you're talking about. I was there. There is no sign that says stop here on, stop bar or whatever, however they word it. But, just give them a chance, and I'm sure they'll do it.
I'm sure they will. Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Okay. Let's keep on going. Number 6, I'm gonna leave that up to Anthony. I think that this was all done, you said, right, Hans? This is that
That's
street
not
light?
like, yeah. So there was adequate lighting. The problem there, I believe, was the foliage. We cleared that whole, anybody wants to take a ride by that, I wanted to have pictures, but I didn't get a chance. We cleared out that whole corner intersection, and it's much more wide open, much safer. People coming out of Swanican have a much better view, and people going into Swanican have a much better view. So anybody, in that area, the visibility greatly increased. So closed.
So
All right.
no poll, Anthony?
No, the pole there was a light on. We gave them a light, but she was asked. Then she wanted to increase wattage.
Oh, okay. So you already gave her the light. Okay.
Yeah, but I can double check on that. But that was done. I now got to go back and look at it again and maybe double guess. But yeah, that was on there. And even aside from that, the area, it just the real problem there was people coming in off of Blowbelt Road couldn't see what was going on Swanican. So they would, like, in other words, if there was cars parked there or kids walking,
Yeah.
waiting for the bus, they would go to make that turn, and then at a speed that didn't, that was too fast for the people that were walking around there. Now they can see from miles up the road that there's people there and proceed with caution. But the light is on that pole. We gave them the number, and that if that's not done, it should be done very soon. We filled out that question, the request and all of that. So, but that is, I think she's happy with what we got there.
Okay.
Okay, so we can consider that's closed then, right?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, number 7 was the update for the request for the traffic control flashing red. Again, that's something that is would have to be done through a study. If the PD could just, maybe just check to make sure the drivers are paying attention to the no left turn, no right turns, and keeping them on West Washington during the hours that they're restricted from turning off of West Washington to cut through the traffic of, cut through the streets off of Washington, Servant, Hillside, Summit. I think we could close that matter as well, because they're going to put that light back, but they're not putting a light there that's going to be a permanent light that changes and stops traffic. So really, if they could just have the sector car or whatever try to enforce the no turns during a certain hours, that would help. And I think we could close this one too. Unless anybody has any comment on that. Okay. All right, number 8. Again, this is a meeting that we need to have with the Department of Transportation. Again, Sergeant Schiller and Mike shed some light on what they can do with trucks using specific roads. Again, there is a 5-ton limit there, but if that box truck or that dump truck is empty, he may not exceed the 5-ton limit. So without a truck unit or somebody going out there actually putting scales under these trucks, unless police can comment on that, putting scales on these trucks, there's really not much they can do because they're not prohibited from using the roadway. So if anybody has any comment on that, there's Sergeant Schiller there. I think I said it right.
I was hoping to have the truck unit out there yesterday. We were scheduled for detail at New York State DOT, and I was told by the higher up that was not going to happen. So we're canceled for June. We usually don't go out in July and August, and we're looking at, I don't know if the letter from the Traffic Advisory Board to the administration could possibly get us back out there to take enforcement on Kings Highway specifically, in other areas where the truck units are.
Well,
Enforce this to get the.
Right.
I'm sorry?
No, that's not, I mean, that's something if you think would help, we could do that. That's, not a problem, because it's not only Kings Highway, there's also the Kings Highway that we talked about, behind Dominican Convent. So maybe, I could give them a couple of streets and maybe they could get them out there for a couple of days and just, double check it, and we can have some answers for these people who are concerned about the truck traffic on their roads. You want us to do that? I mean, we could.
I have about 6 officers who are trained in the scale usage. And if I get them out there collectively, I usually need about 2 of them to operate those scales together for officer safety, so that the truck doesn't roll back, that they're chocked properly, to take readings. I can get those officers there. I just need the, little bit of a push of support to get these guys in operation.
So should we send that to administration, like to the chief and the captains? That's who we go to?
That would be great if it could go out. I can get those officers out there with their.
Okay.
Right now, I'm looking at September, or the earliest of having New York State DOT down here with us again.
And you think if we write the letter, it might be faster? Like, is that what you mean?
I mean, it would be helpful to the commercial vehicle officers. I'll put it that way.
Okay,
Well, it wouldn't hurt.
Right, thank you. Yeah, it's, no
Yes.
promises.
No promises, but why not send the letter and see what happens? That's all.
Thank you.
sounds good. All right, so is everybody in favor of sending a letter of request to the police administration asking for some truck enforcement on certain roads that we've been asked to look at? And we can, between Allison and I, will draw up a letter, get it over to the police administration.
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
Okay. Everybody else? Okay, good. So me too. So Allison, maybe together we'll work on that?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sarge. Appreciate that. That's good. All right. I don't know if the police had a chance to look at Van Terrace and Lake Drive. I haven't heard too much about it. I haven't seen too much about it. We did a couple of drive-throughs as for birthdays and retirements and stuff during this time with the fire department, and it didn't seem to. I mean, everybody seemed to be doing what they were doing. So I don't know if this should be a closed matter or if there's something going on there. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at it.
Signs are there.
I haven't heard anything else. I mean, the
No.
signs are there. They would just we'll just close it. If we hear anything else, we'll revisit it. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Number 10, the reflective sign for the guide rail on Old Pascagoula Pro River. This I think we could close also. Town Highway went up there. Anthony, you could tell them what you did up there.
Yeah, we weren't able to put the county didn't want to put that the thing that she was requesting on that guide rail because there,
Attenuator, yeah.
didn't call for it. So what we did was we painted a large triangle with
Hash marks?
with the hash marks in it, and just to help guide traffic on going in and where 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 to enter and where to go out, and it's helped. And the county we did the triangle and the crosswalk, so that's helping with that to accentuate that intersection. But we couldn't do the other thing that she was asking, so we took an action. It's really the only thing we can do there, and I think it's working.
Okay, so I think we can close that, Allison.
Okay.
Okay. If anybody else got any questions, comments on that, I think we're good. At number 11, I just spoken to Paul about that. Let's give it another week, Paul. If you don't see the sign there or I don't see it, I'll give the county a call and see what the status is. But they did say they'd look at it, and if warranted, they put a sign up. Okay?
Okay, good enough.
Okay, number 12, the stop sign needed on Orangeburg Road and Pro River at Old Middletown Road. This came from the supervisor. I'll talk about it a little bit, and then Anthony, if you want to elaborate, it's up to you.
You got it, Mike.
There's a couple of scenarios that the study showed. I think Tommy Dottel is on. One of them was to make it a three-way stop. One of it was to make it a two-way stop with the existing stop sign that's there being one, and then putting a stop sign at Orangeburg Road. But that scenario would allow traffic to continue to head south on Old Middletown Road going towards Veterans Memorial Drive. The issue with that is that we need to look at is the fact that if you're not stopping the traffic going southbound, how do you warn the other traffic that traffic is not stopping? So it was determined that we were going to speak to the engineering firm that made these recommendations, and we'll determine what, if anything, we're going to do there. Did I say that right, Anthony?
Yes. They have 3 different plans, and that's in one of them, and What's going on? That's
Okay.
correct. You're good, Mike.
Okay, is everybody okay with that? So you can leave that on there, and we'll try to get a determination, Allison, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Why do we want do we have accidents there? Why do we want those stop signs?
The one stop sign, the one stop sign's been there forever, okay?
Well, that's because Norristown School was at the bottom, so that was for the buses to come up, I think.
No, what that stop sign does, the stop sign heading northbound, what that does, believe it or not, it's kind of the contrary to the rule. You're not really supposed to use stop signs for slowing traffic down, but that stop sign actually stops traffic, and then traffic has to get going again, because if they didn't, and it was a through street, the belief is, by many, is that people wouldn't stop, and they would continue to go a lot faster, and then try to make that turn, and probably go straight, just like they do coming the other way. So putting a stop sign at Orangeburg Road in Old Middletown actually makes that a little safer, because right now you could come up that hill and just make the right turn as fast as well, not as fast as you want, but just make the right turn, and somebody could be making a left coming down Orangeburg Road. So, we don't know for a fact, but there's probably some near misses there. So apparently somebody was asking for a stop sign, which isn't out of the question, because the reason why there was never a stop sign there is years ago there used to be a bus route, and that bus would get stuck on a hill. So now the bus route has changed, and that bus isn't there anymore, and the highway department's much more efficient in their response to snow and ice, that most of the time that's taken care of. So putting a stop sign there wouldn't be the end of the world. It's just that you'd want to know what's happening with the traffic heading southbound, because if you put a stop sign there, that could actually back up into that turn.
Okay.
So I think we should just wait and see what the engineering department, the engineering who did the study, what they have to say is why they had 3 scenarios and what the pros and the cons are. So I think that's what we should do.
Okay.
Tom, you got anything on that, Tommy? Buddy old Blau?
No, that's good.
Attaboy, Tom. All right. All right. Okay. Number 13, Anthony, this is one for you. Speeding on Western Highway, the Lever Road by the Clarkstown border.
Yeah, we put in a request for markouts. They should be done if they're not already, and then we can put the posts in, and then we are going to add the radar signs onto our rotation with the other ones. So they wind up basically getting a sign there once a year. When we remove, it'll be there for a week because there's several locations all over town. And then when it's removed after that week, we replace it with a regular sign. One of the signs says speed limit, and the other one, says, please use caution or safety. The good thing about the radar signs not being there permanently is because once they are, they kind of become background to people. When they're there for a week, people are like, whoa, it's something new, and it helps slow them down, then they're gone. And then they're, it's just like they don't become white noise when they're installed and removed like that. We found that to be effective. So progress, they're getting the radar signs. The county approved it. They said it's okay for us to put them there, and that's what we're doing.
Okay. So did you want to, go ahead, I'm sorry, Mike.
No, I just want to, in regards to the same location, Anthony, I spoke to Mike earlier, or we got our message board out there. Use caution as well, but I guess it ran out of too, so I asked him.
I'm having trouble hearing. I don't know if he's asking me a question.
Yeah. Can you hear me now, Anthony?
I can't hear him either.
Try again, Mike.
I'll just talk louder. How about that?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. I asked Mike to relocate one of your message boards over to Thiessen Western for the pro wrestling.
Oh,
We had to take our sign in.
I got that
recharge it.
message. Yes, as long as it was requested by you guys, that was fine. But
Yeah,
and it was
separate but related,
and since it was a sign thanking you guys for what you guys do, and requested by you to move it, it makes it a little bit better. So
I appreciate it.
Turtles, normally I wouldn't move a sign thanking OPD or for all emergency services for what they do during this, but since you requested it, we did it. The Turtles took precedence.
Yeah, I just know one thing is related to the other, with
Yeah.
speed and how to turn across.
It's true.
I just had to take our sign in and recharge it. I appreciate you relocating one.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move to number 14. Okay, this is Mr. Ryan. We talked to him last month. He's concerned about the speeding and traffic volume on Hunt Road. We did redo the counts, and actually, counts were originally done. Give me a minute here. I got stuff all over the place here. We compared them to the counts of October of 2019. We did them in 2 different locations on Hunt Road, and we did these on 5/27, and they ended on 5/29. And the most recent counts, which is obvious reasons, it shows a significant reduction in the westbound traffic, and pretty much a significant reduction in all traffic. And the speeds have been about the same, and I'm looking at them as we speak. The mode speed in 10/9/2019 was 32.63 miles per hour, and the ones on 5/27 was 33.38. So the speeding's not there. At least we're not seeing it in the counts. I mean, I'm sure there's a few. You look at the speed bins. Speed bins, do show there's a couple of cars exceeding the speed limit. I shouldn't say a couple, a few. So, but volume-wise, that has decreased significantly, and it doesn't really show that the 85th percentile is speeding. So I'm sure there are some. So I guess again would be a request to the PD to see if it would be advantageous for them to ask the postcarder to try to sit there a little bit and keep an eye on it. Unless anybody else has anything they want to add to that. But we did redo the counts. Anybody got anything you want to add to that?
I was just going to say perception is not always reality, and sometimes they're not speeding, and people are allowed to drive down the road at the speed limit. So even if the kid, it's not a place for kids to be, unsupervised.
I mean, I'm sure there's probably some that are excelling a little bit. It is a straightaway, but
Right.
That's based on the volumes and based on the speeds, it wouldn't warrant any other kind of traffic measure outside of maybe some enforcement. And maybe that's something, if it's okay with the sergeant and Mike, maybe that's something we should put in to our letter as a second notification, is that a good percentage of the requests that come to the TAB to deal with traffic speeding and volume, which would maybe help in a sense get the PD maybe to assign somebody. I don't manage the police department, but assign somebody to maybe traffic. And this way, if these things come in, like I know they had a traffic unit years ago that when something came up to the traffic advisory board, the traffic advisory board would give it to the PD. The PD would give it to their traffic quote unquote people, and that guy would target those areas and make a very good impression on that particular area, whether he was issuing summonses, warnings, or just his presence being there slowed people down. So maybe we could ask maybe the administration to look at that as well, if that's acceptable to the police, if they think we should do that as well.
Mike, whatever, you feel is appropriate to put in a letter.
Yeah.
Like you said, years ago, we did have a traffic unit that was comprised of at least a minimum of 2 officers at the time. There was also a special services sergeant who oversaw it and took in the complaints. In a perfect world, other departments have a traffic unit, which is they're cross-trained as their accident investigators, their commercial vehicle inspectors, and that's what they do. They handle these complaints that come in. Ours is, the officers are strictly assigned to patrol posts. We do not have the staffing for a traffic, say, unit right now to go out assigned to traffic. If there's extra cars, they are put out there to monitor and enforce notifications. But
I understand that. Yeah.
like, Mike Yanazone Jr. just got back yesterday from Albany. He took all of our radars up there. They were all just calibrated. They're ready to go. He put them back in the cars. The handhelds were all updated in our locker downstairs. And the truck scales are actually going up to Syracuse on Monday to get calibrated as well. He's taken those up, gracious for him to travel up there for us. So, I mean, the equipment's there. It's ready to go. It's usable. It's just the staffing that, you know, if we can get, you know, that information out, and I'll definitely let the patrol supervisors know that these are the target areas that we're getting the complaints for the special enforcement. I will definitely put that email out this week to them regarding the speeding locations as well as the truck locations. And then, yes, like I'm appreciative if a follow-up letter can go to administration just to reiterate the complaints that are coming in through the town. And then I can set up special details with the scale operators, those 6 officers, to get out there and physically weigh these roads, the trucks on the roads. That would be helpful as well. So I appreciate your combined efforts on this traffic advisory board.
Yeah, I think that's really good, Sarge. Thank you. I think it's important because, you know, now if we make the administration realize that, you know, so many of our agenda items have to deal with speeding, and if you look every time, it's like we push it off to enforcement. Maybe they could, you know, get a guy once or twice a week and be proactive. So at least the people who are making the complaints or the concerns would see that the town is being proactive and they are sending somebody out there. And, you know, there's a good chance that if the person is doing 33 miles an hour, that's what they're doing. And it's a perception that they're speeding and they're not. But at least we can say, hey, look, we had a police officer out there. They checked it out. They were sitting out there for how many days or time or whatever. And the average speed was 33 miles an hour. Or they could say, well, we gave out 15 summonses. So I think maybe Allison, you and I will work on a letter and just incorporate that as well and ask for their assistance to see how we make out. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Number 15. This goes along with the other Kings Highway, so we won't beat that up. That'll be in the letter. That's again trucks concerns on Kings Highway. This is on the Orangeburg side. Number 16. I'm gonna leave number 16 to the very end because I have 2 items on new business that I'd like to get through real quick, and then I'm gonna talk about real briefly about the amended law. And I'm glad Dennis is here because I just have one question. But let me go to new business and I'll get back to this. Okay, so number one on new business was, unless anybody has anything on old business, I should have said that. If everybody's okay with old business, I'd like to move to new business. Okay. Okay. All right. New business. Residents concerned about the excessive speeding on Orangeburg Road in Pearl River, including kids at 7:15 a.m. and heavy trucks. Trucks with equipment and dump trucks are flying down the street. She lives at 602 Orangeburg Road, Pearl River. I know for a fact that there are radar signs that are on Orangeburg Road. Again, this would be something that we would have to ask the police to see if it's really actually happening, as opposed to somebody, you know, looking at a car and assuming it's speeding. So maybe Sarge, could you write that down as well?
I'm sorry, Mike, somebody in my office. What did you need me to take down?
The new business is the same. It's kind of the same thing. It's Orangeburg Road and Pearl River. They're complaining about heavy trucks and speeding around 7:15 a.m. in the morning. She lives at 602 Orangeburg Road. So again, it's a complaint about speeding. If we could maybe just check it out and see if it's actually happening.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Get that out, sure.
Okay. All right. The other new business I have is a request from the highway. This is for Mr. Ed O'Day on 19 Center Street. The town has looked at it and agreed to put in curb cuts at South Highland Avenue in Pearl River, which is off of West Washington, and Old South Highland Avenue, which is off of West Washington. And they want to put a crosswalk from Old South Highland to the sidewalk across the street on Washington Avenue. Really what they need from us is a recommendation, Allison, to the town board to, a request actually to the town board to ask the county, to tell the county that they would like to do that across the county road. Did I say that right, Anthony? I think I did.
I'm on mute again, sorry.
Yeah.
They, we would like the county to install the crosswalk and the signage, and we would do the curb cuts.
Right, and a signage. So it would be, we were asking permission to install a crosswalk and signage.
But
On West Washington Avenue.
We're asking the county to install.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they said they would do it. We just have to do it
Yes.
formally through the town board.
Yes, sir.
Make the recommendation that you should go ahead with this.
Thank you. Any second on that?
I'll second.
Margaret, thank you. Okay, so we'll work on that, Allison, too, right, to get that to the TV?
Okay.
Okay, all right, so that's new business. Unless there's anything else on the new business, I just want to go back real briefly to the law. Okay, so, like I mentioned last month, Allison and I looked at the town law that was enacted back in 1971, and it kind of contradicted, and I'm glad I see Dennis now because he can tell me when I'm talking too much. It kind of contradicted
Now,
what we actually have. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to make coincide with what the board is actually doing and how many members are allowed to be on the board. And the question always came up is who is the voting members? And that's been a question. I was on the board for 21 years, and that's always been a question. And I don't think we ever really got a clear answer. So what we were contemplating is, and I believe it's spelled out pretty clear here, is that the board would be made up of 7 members, which it is now. They would serve a 1-year term and then be at the discretion of the town board. A chairman would, and a secretary would be appointed by the supervisor. And the other part of that was, and there would be 4 advisors from representing engineering, highway, and police. And that's basically the way it is right now. Originally, it was 5 members, and then it climbed as high as, I think we had 12 or 13, didn't we, Allison? So nobody knew. I mean, even though we were getting appointed, we didn't know who actually was the voting members. So it would be 7 members on the board would vote. The other members, we need 4 for a quorum, and the other members who represented the various departments professionally would be there as advisors to the board. So if we make a recommendation to the town board, it's with the expertise of those.
Mike, I have to interrupt.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, buddy.
There are members, and there are consultants or advisors.
Right.
So you refer to the advisors that are the department heads or sent by the department heads. They're not members. They're advisors. Okay.
Right.
And they don't vote.
Right.
Vote. Okay. Because
Good.
I think you may have referred to the advisors as members.
yeah.
Yeah,
No.
if I did, I didn't mean to. What I meant to say is
Thank
there's
you,
7
Dennis.
members.
Thank you.
There's 7 members that are voting members. The other 4 members are advisors, which give us a total of 11 people on the board. Am I saying that correctly?
No. How about 11
Yeah.
people who sit in a room, who sit in a room during a meeting?
Okay.
There are members and there are advisors.
Okay.
It's that simple. You have 7 members of the board. They're the board. They're the ones who vote. And then you have advisors. You can have 1 advisor. You can have 1,000 advisors.
Right.
They don't vote.
Okay. So, but a quorum
How
would
would that-
constitute, the quorum would constitute 4 voting members.
Correct.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to get at. Because that was always the question.
Right.
How many do you need for a quorum? So now we just
You need
need
a
4.
majority of the membership. And if the membership is, I don't have the local law in front of me now. If you're saying it's 7, then a quorum would be 4, and that's all you would need to be in attendance to take action.
Okay. So the way the law
We don't
reads
have a
now,
quorum. Am I right?
right now, we don't know.
Right, okay.
No. We're not taking any action.
I know, I'm just trying to get it straight.
No, what I would like is a motion to move forward with the law the way it's written. The only thing is, does anything in here have to say anything about the advisors? That's my question.
I say legally no, but I don't, I'm not the CSEA, contract expert, or the advisors who are not members of the board may need something in the local law that says, one person from the police department must be in attendance as an advisor, one person from the Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, one person from the Highway Department. These are the advisors. If you mention that in the local law, at least it, I don't, forgive me, I don't know what the PBA contract says. If somebody from the police department is said, hey, you have to go to the traffic advisory board meeting, should there be something in the local law that gives the administration and OPD the authority to tell Sergeant Schiller, you have to go to that meeting. Well, if I have to go to that meeting, then I get overtime. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, that would probably.
I don't think it's a bad idea to mention who the advisors are to the traffic advisory board. I think it's a good idea for that reason that I just suggested. And
I do as well.
It gives you the chairman. It gives the chairman an opportunity to bellyache and say, "Hey, supervisor, our advisor from the highway department has not attended the last 3 meetings." And if there's nothing in the local law that says that one of the advisors must be from the highway department, doesn't really give you an opportunity to bellyache. You know what I mean? So yeah, I say we should mention who you'd like the advisors to be in terms of the department and what their position would be in the department. If you need to say what their position is, I don't think you need to, but just one representative from the Orangetown Police Department, one from the Highway Department, one from, I don't know, Tom's always.
Yeah, we need
Tom
engineering.
Yeah.
Engineering.
We always have a member, an advisor.
No, an advisor.
Right.
And and a counsel like yourself.
Right,
We
we
need
would be
somebody
an
from
advisor as well. Yeah,
Right.
I think it's a good idea. I say yes.
All right, so we'd have to put that into the law, because there's also liaisons, and that I think also was in there.
Well, one
Allison.
liaison, right? The town board
Right.
liaison.
Correct. So
And
I think that's.
they're like an advisor. They're like an advisor.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that should be in there as well. This way, everything that we're doing, although we don't do it a lot, but at least somebody can't call us on it and say, well, your local law says this and you're doing that. So I think it would be a good idea just to get it right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And does everybody else agree with that? Ms. Warren and Paul?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so we'll just.
Congratulations. I tried to do that for 2 years and got nowhere. You did a good job.
You didn't ask me this one. You didn't ask me. That was a problem. No, I'm only kidding. They got, Dennis actually advised me, but he didn't want me to say anything to anybody.
Okay.
Did I?
Okay. All right. So we'll move forward. We'll get the law written, and then what do we have to do? We just have to get it to the town board, or should we have to
Well,
look
once
at it
it's
one more time?
fine, we'll have to do some tweaking. I know I had drafted a version or two, and it kind of there was some issue with it. I don't know who raised the issue. Maybe it was the advisor question. Allison might know better than me. But if Allison could just
Probably me.
if you and Allison could figure out which of the
Okay.
latest drafts you guys find to be closest
Right.
to what you'd like to see, and mention in your cover email, Allison or Mike, Dennis, don't forget to incorporate the advisor provision.
Okay.
Then I'll finalize it and send it to the town board, send it to Allison and Teresa to put it on the agenda. It has to be, there has to be a public hearing. But it's not subject to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, so we don't have to worry about that. It's not subject to the Rockland County Department of Planning's General Municipal Law, GML requirement. So it's exempt from those two administrative red tape. So it's fair. It's a pretty easy local law to adopt.
Good.
It
Okay.
really should just take one public hearing. That's it.
Perfect.
One step.
All right. Well, thank you, Dennis.
Well, they may want
Thank
to
you.
workshop it first. We'll probably workshop it first and then set the public hearing.
Okay. All right, thank you for that, Dennis. And I just want to thank everybody else. If there's no other business that comes before this meeting, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
All right, Mike, I have something. We talked
ahead.
about it before the meeting started.
ahead.
Anthony, could you email me a copy of the findings for that traffic signal on Main Street, Washington Street, Old Tapman Road, and Kings Highway intersection? What their
Is that-
findings were?
Right. I don't,
Can I
Mike, maybe you
interrupt
can
that?
help me.
Yeah, let me interrupt that.
Does that have to
Yeah,
be a FOIL or is that a
has to come-
request?
That has to come from the Traffic Advisory Board, Paul.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe what we should do is ask Highway if the board can get a copy of that so we can take a
That's
look
right.
at it.
That's what I'm getting. Very good.
You know what I'm
Okay,
saying,
thank you.
Paul? We can do
Yeah.
that. We'll make a formal request and then the whole board can look at it.
All
Absolutely.
right, the issue here is because there's there's the new firehouse and the existing firehouse that's right there where the problem is.
Right.
And the issue is in the evening times where the most traffic is hung up on that light. All right, it's difficult to get the fire equipment out on a call.
Mm.
Because the road's blocked. Right?
Right.
And that's the issue. The fire
Well-
district and the association want to know what happened.
Well, I
Well-
think what happens, I mean, they did, obviously, the counts were there day and night when they did them, but are you saying that when you open those doors and turn on the fire sirens, that nobody's heeding your fire warning and not getting out of the way?
Well,
That's a
basically what
different
we have to do is the westbound traffic on Washington Street, which is in front of the existing firehouse and the new firehouse that will be built a little bit further down the road, right? The traffic is lined up from Washington Lane to the traffic light.
No,
And
I
when it's-
understand the problem,
Right.
but what I'm saying is you're singling out emergency vehicle because the traffic study was done for, regular equipment, or
Right.
regular cars and traffic, which is what the light is for. Because, but when you bring up emergency services, which overrides the traffic light. So the traffic light shouldn't be an issue for emergency services. Right.
Basically what they do is they go the wrong way, up the opposite side of the road where they're supposed to be traveling on. That's all.
I
With
got
the
you.
lights
Yeah,
and sirens going. So,
We'll,
Right.
right, and I mean, and that's what the lights and sirens are for. But I will, we'll get the study and we'll review it. And just to keep in mind that traffic light is for, the general public, because emergency
Yes,
services, that's what the lights and sirens are for.
I understand that. I just wanted
Very
to
good.
reiterate the issue that we have there. That's all.
Absolutely.
I think what we could do is we'll request that as a TAB and then we'll review it and maybe we could have the guy who did the study come and explain. Maybe he hasn't heard the fire department side of the
Yes.
story. I'm not sure. So, but
Well,
we'll make a formal request.
Whatever the determination is, it is. I mean, when, unless the fire district or the fire association want to fight it, that's their problem. All right?
Right.
All right. So, okay.
Yeah, no,
All right,
we'll
we'll
get the
we'll get
info
the
and the
explanation.
outcome. and-
Right.
And
We'll
we'll
get
all
the
review it.
explanation.
Thank you.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, anything else on the new business? All right, no other business come before this meeting, entertain a motion for adjournment. I'm
Mike?
sorry, go ahead. Go
Just
ahead.
one quick thing, I'll make it quick. It was brought to my attention actually by a couple of police officers recently, Washington Street and Tapman. In the firehouse and approaching the 303 overpass, tractor trailers have somehow
Oh,
been
yeah.
making their way over there.
Yeah,
And they get stuck. They go past that height restricted sign there, and they going eastbound, they get stuck, and then we're tied up. We need 2-3 police officers out there to back them back to Main Street, turn them around. We're concerned about the overpass. If one of them were to break it, it's State Route 303 right above it by the condominiums there. If there's some
Yeah.
way that some other additional signage could be put up, maybe closer to the intersection by the firehouse, restricting the trucks, because once they go past that firehouse, they're basically locked into that street area
Yeah.
there.
they're done, yeah.
Yeah, we have a
well,
lot there. I was thinking that, now, as you say, maybe across from the firehouse, a sign advising them, because they drive by the large sign at the Oak Tree intersection that says no trucks, or they drive by. So, but I think something square right there. We'll see what we can do to enhance what's there and maybe add something.
Thank you.
I think that's the county sign anyway, isn't it, Ants?
It is, but Mike, I mean,
Yeah, I know. All right,
we'll do okay.
okay. If there's anything else under the new business or any other issues come before the meeting, I'll ask for adjournment.
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.